This podcast is brought to you in part by a special group of individuals that I like to call my Patreon podcast producers, and all of them are over on Instagram. So please stop what you're doing right now and go show them some love, because they're showing big love to this podcast. Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Amy at Gem of the Gym, that's GEM of the GYM, Caitlin at Caitlin Elise, put 3 Y's in her name, Crystal at Reduced Fat Mama, Emily at M is the Biggest Loser, that is EM is the Biggest Loser, Joey at Joey Losing Weight, Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, and Amber at amber.l.ables. Follow all of these amazing people. Their contributions to this show are pushing it farther forward than I could have ever imagined, and I'll be forever grateful for their support. And if you want to join this special group, listen at the end of the show for more details. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it. Oh, yeah!
Appreciate you putting that out on Instagram, asking for people to get their stories out.
Hey, I love to do it, man. This is it's really a cool thing for a number of reasons. Number one, it's, I think most importantly, it allows people of different walks of life that have different maybe backgrounds in working out or dieting or whatever you want to call it, that have different ways of how they got to where they got. And this is the opportunity to share it with a number of people who also come from various walks of life. And then number two, for me on a personal note, I tend to be very introverted at times, and it's hard to believe, but this gives me an opportunity to talk to people that I've never talked to before. And I think you could verify, James, but this is our first time ever like talking.
Yes. Yep.
And so through the magic of the internet, I jump on Skype. I say, hey, I'm good to go. Are you good to go? You're like, yep, I'm good to go. I hit record on my little recorder. I dial up your Skype account here, and here we are, man. This is how it goes.
Nice. So,
I guess before we get like too far deep into everything, like, how did you find out about me or the podcast, or how do we get connected?
I was big on, I just joined Instagram recently, and okay. I was kind of looking through and looking for people who were either on or have gone through like a weight loss journey.
Yes.
So I found you through that, look at your stories, was really motivated by watching and seeing your runs that you did.
Oh yeah.
And then I know Gormy, so
yes,
and his coach Jonathan lives here in town, so I kind of got connected, indirectly through all of those people by meeting Jonathan in person at a keto meetup that I hosted here in Houston, Texas.
Okay, so you are of the keto variety, as they would say.
I have done probably every known variation of diet available over my journey. But yes, I would say I have been bitten by the keto bug. I've probably been full keto since November of 2018, but definitely a low carb lifestyle. And,
okay.
For me, there is a difference. A lot of what I see on Instagram portrayed as a ketogenic lifestyle,
mm-hmm.
I would personally classify it more as a low carb lifestyle. Not that anything is wrong with it. I'm not advocating one way or another.
Right.
I would just advocate health.
Hell yeah.
And finding what works for the individual person, because everyone's different, and sustainability is the key. And then just continuing that journey, whether it's, paleo or keto or low cal or carnivore or any variation of all the different things that are out there. The key is to get in a better lifestyle on being able to do things like yourself, going out and enjoying a run, or setting a new goal and achieving that goal, and setting the next goal and achieving that goal.
Well, folks, I think James here has really said it all. Thanks for tuning in. We've had a great day here. Thanks for listening. No, you've really said it. I agree with everything you said, finding what works for you. I really agree with what you said about, we all come from a different place, and the fact that you've tried so many different things. I think we may all do things differently, but that's like one thing I think most of us, probably 95 to 97% of people, can agree on. Like, we've all tried like what we perceive to be everything, right? Like, we've tried at least 5-10 different things before we landed on whatever that one thing was that worked for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, when I was in my first attempt to try to lose weight, I did the whole, it wasn't Atkins, but it was before the keto buzz came out, and even before paleo, the big buzz came out. I was doing like a meat, eggs, and cheese diet.
Meat, egg, and cheese.
Meat, egg, and cheese. So if you think of it in today's vocabulary, very similar to like a carnivore-ish type diet.
Yes.
But my journey, I've gone from, I think the last recorded weight I had was like 350 pounds.
Right.
And then down to like 170.
Good Lord.
And the journey to get to that. And then back up to 250.
Right.
And then now down, I'm hovering right about 150, and I'm about 6'1".
Wow. That's incredible, dude. First of all, just everybody listening, stop for a moment and let's clap or virtual fist bump, whatever you guys do, because that's phenomenal. I mean, that, like, when you look at the total number altogether, I mean, do I have this right? Like 200 or just about 200 pounds?
Overall, yeah.
Wow.
And then, gaining 80 back and then losing that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but that can be a part of life, like we'll talk about, your origins and losing it the first time, gaining, come out. I want to hit all of that, but I mean, that's really what life is all about, to a certain degree. I don't think anybody ever has like the perfect journey. It's going to be rough. It's going to have ups and downs along the way, right? I mean, that's pretty standard, I think. I think that's common among a lot of people.
It's not about falling into the rut. It's about staying on the path, right?
Exactly. Because we're all gonna stumble and fall at some point. It's how we get back up and we keep on pushing. I think that's really what it boils down to. It's, you can fall down and you can get hurt, you can get dirty, but you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you just keep on rolling.
Absolutely.
And before we get into like all the weight loss and stuff like that, what part of the country are you in?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. All right. I don't think I've ever been there. I think the closest I've ever been is Dallas, although that probably isn't very close. But as far as like Texas, that's where I've been, is Dallas.
We're in triple digit heat index already. So
good Lord, man. And I'm sitting here complaining about my 90-degree weather over here. It's pretty hot across the country, I think.
Yes.
And what kind of line of work do you do? What kind of industry, I guess?
Ironically, I am the global supply manager for a organic sweetener company.
Wow. How did you get into something like that?
Yeah. Well, I've always been in the food industry for the bulk of my career. Started on the East Coast, wanted to relocate down to the Texas area due to family.
Where on the East Coast?
Area. Virginia Beach area.
Okay, I'm in Virginia, so about probably 3 hours or so away from there.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Yeah. I saw your pictures of King's Dominion, and I was like, oh, I remember that place. That
You
place
know
was
about that
awesome.
place, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh man, yes. Okay, so and jumping into the food industry, is that something you kind of like walked into, or did you? I mean, I can't imagine as a kid you're like, man, when I grow up, I'm gonna be in this food industry thing here.
No, I actually went to university at
Right.
Louisiana Tech, which is in northern Louisiana. Got a degree in business management, and
Cool.
for an entire year was looking, grinding, struggling, getting resumes out, looking for something within supply chain, and nothing was there.
Right.
Everything in North Louisiana is mainly blue collar,
Mm-hmm.
casino work, or oil industry. None of that I had, even from an educational background. So luckily, my parents, my father's a retired U.S. Air Force officer, and
Mm-hmm.
he was living in Virginia Beach area.
Right.
After a year looking, pregnant wife, dog, me, got in the car and moved up to Virginia.
Wow.
And ironically, their neighbor was an executive within the HR department at a major food organization in that area.
Yep.
And started there, literally working from my parents' spare bedroom, in Excel, figuring out outside salesmen's commission based on products they sold. So
Man.
from there, I became an intern within a division of their company, and then became a planner, so planned product to be made.
Yep.
And then they started up a new facility, a production facility in North Carolina. So they relocated me there, and I became a production scheduler, manager within that organization. Then I actually left that organization and went to a cannery that they did canned vegetables.
Yep.
And then from there, I moved to Houston. And for 2 years, I was actually with a frozen food manufacturer, and specifically the facilities in Houston, they make Asian appetizers.
Right.
And then now I'm where I'm at now, more or less importing and selling sugar as the keto guy.
Wow. So it sounds like when I hear your story about your career, I just hear that song like started from the bottom, now we here.
Right, exactly.
And no, that's awesome, man. That's a hell of a climb. And when you stick to your guns and you improve and you get better, you just keep moving up and up and up. And I think weight loss can be a lot like that too. It's like you start to learn what works and you keep really drilling down on that, and as you go along over time you see results. And so I think that it's like when I talk about the fundamentals of weight loss, what I classify the four pillars: patience, consistency, hard work, love yourself. Like I say you can apply those to your entire life, whether it's, wanting to get started in the food industry, or if you're like me, wanting to do podcasting full time and YouTube and things like that. It's like, man, you gotta start from the bottom. You gotta hustle, work hard, and eventually you get to where you want to be.
Agreed.
Yeah, when you said Houston, I instantly think of I used to do long time ago. I mean, I'm talking about like way back. I had like a wrestling podcast radio show that I met this guy. He lived in Houston, and he was a wrestling fan. We somehow connected, I think, through another guy. And he was the co-host of we would Skype in every week, and he was the co-host for my little wrestling talk show. And I always told him, I was like, man, when I get to Houston, we're going to hang out. And it just hasn't happened yet 12 years later, and we still haven't done it.
Wow.
So it's crazy, but that's my Houston. That's my little Houston story that I can add to all this. So. So tell me about your childhood, your upbringing. How do we get to 350 pounds?
Came from an Air Force military family. My dad was a fighter pilot for the Air Force. And when I was 8 years old, he was medically grounded. He had severe brain tumors.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, he had to have very evasive and dramatic brain surgery.
Oh, wow.
So I remember coming home, 7, 8 years old, and this figure, this mountain of a man who is, what every young man wants his father to be, and what every young man back when I was a kid in the 80s, he was Top Gun, he was Maverick, he was actually doing it.
Yeah.
And he was laying more or less dead on the living room sofa. He couldn't eat, he couldn't walk, he couldn't talk. He literally had to learn everything from infancy up. So seeing that, he had to change careers, obviously, and could no longer be a fighter pilot. And he moved into the intelligence branch of the Air Force, and we moved around. Not as much as we did when he was flying, but we did move around the country, which, looking back as a kid, helps you be able to meet and talk with people very openly and very quickly versus people who live and have their quote unquote bubble. And they go and they try to meet new people. Sometimes it's more difficult, where I was always the new kid in school.
Right.
I was always moving and having to learn new things. Even my mom was always a stay-at-home mom for the most part. And my dad, he was always gone with the military, always doing what they would refer to as TDYs. I always thought they were vacations, but more or less it's a business trip. So you're gone overseas or somewhere in the country for weeks, sometimes months on end. And I remember one time when we were living in Central Florida, more or less in the middle of the swamp in the Everglades.
Right.
He took what is referred to as a remote trip, where he left for an entire year. So more or less back in the 80s, early 90s, I guess, late 80s, no cell phone, no real computers. If you wanted to talk to him, maybe a phone, but he was overseas, so the time zones didn't really work out. So what I like to kind of tell people is I grew up with a father, but with a father who was not present.
Right.
So I was more or less raised by my mother, who was always there. She was there coming home from school, running to practice, doing these different types of things. So coming from that background of more or less being raised by a female with no father figure permanently present, while also relocating around and not having that permanent fixture like a coach or a preacher, pastor, or some male role model who was just there to kind of learn from.
Right.
Kind of took on that aspect. So went through high school at the same high school. My dad finally made the choice for his career, the best thing for his family. You need to finish in one high school. It would be, very difficult at best to move during a high school transition. So for that, I do thank him. But my first personal traumatic event was very early the summer I graduated. I dove off a boat into 2-3 feet of water and actually compression fractured the middle of my back.
Oh, man.
So luckily not paralyzed, right?
Yeah.
I have never heard a doctor use such choice words to more or less a child, 17-year-old, on how lucky that individual is to not be a wheelchair bound for the rest of his life or worse. So I remember laying in my bed, but in that summer transition between high school and college, just in bed. And my mother and my younger brother, they had prior obligations, and I approved, and they left for the summer.
Right.
And my dad, he was there, and he worked all day long. But more or less, my friends, quote unquote, air quotes, they weren't there either. They didn't come by, check on me, because the summer between high school and college, I mean, you're at the highest of highs. You've just accomplished a lifetime of education. You're getting ready to transition into the next step, whether that's college or military or career oriented. They wanted to go live their lives. They wanted to go and celebrate or prepare for their next journey. They didn't have time or make time to come and see James and say, James, is everything okay? Is there anything I can do for you? One person did. That person is now my wife. She was
Oh,
with
wow.
me every day. So yeah, we're high school sweethearts. So yeah, so she was with me every day. And so from that transition from high school to fracturing my back to going off to college, parents leaving more or less or not being present during that summer and having one individual to lean on, we made that decision to go to university together, which we did. And then more or less, she became my stability, my rock, the person I could depend on for myself.
Yeah.
So we go through university, and, I go from being not super popular, but very involved in a high school where everybody more or less knew me. I graduated in the late 90s. So the thing in northern Louisiana was to have very loud trucks, but drop them down
Yeah.
instead of raising them up. Super dark windows, very loud speaker systems. And I had all that. So, you could hear my little 4-banger S10 coming from 3 miles away. And, going and transitioning from that, what I wanted to refer to at the time as my culture or my tribe of people, to going to having now that is all gone. Now I have one person I can count on, one person who can help me, one person I can lean on. Then moving off to college, I've literally lost everyone I grew up with in a summer.
Wow.
No more contact. All the friendships I thought were, potentially lifelong things, gone. I mean, I couldn't tell you a single person that I went to high school with their phone number.
Yeah.
Not one. So went to college and I had one person to lean on. And that is, I think, where my weight gain journey started.
Right. And when all this is going down, I mean, what does it do for you mentally? You know what I mean? Like what happens mentally when this is going on?
I don't think anything hit me up front. I think it took years, actually. I mean, I know my breaking point. I know my rock bottom.
Yeah.
And it built up slowly over time. So I go from having this world of one where, you wake up, you go to school, you come home, you're around one person.
Yep.
You go to sleep, you wake up, you go to school, you come home, you're around one person. So I turned to different avenues as a release. I was never a public partier in college. I didn't go to the bars or the clubs or mess around with recreational drugs or whatnot.
Yep.
But for me, I started to get into alcohol.
Yeah.
So it was, it started off what I wanted to think of as innocent. Kind of started looking back at senior year, you get into wine coolers or Boone Farms or whatever anybody can get their hands on. And then, you have beer and alcohol that you can get your hands on in college, and taking, that and just using that as a crutch to kind of get you like some sort of release, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
definitely.
just using it as well, today sucked. I have no one else to talk to. I've seen the same person over and over for the last year, day, week, month, whatever. I'm just going to take and drink this one drink. And then this one drink over time becomes 2 drinks. And then those 2 drinks become 4 drinks. And then those 4 drinks become a whole damn bottle of Jim Beam every night. You know what I mean? So through that, and then more or less graduating college, university, not being able to find a job, permanent job, finding out my wife was pregnant, all these, failures. I've graduated. I'm at the pinnacle of my now adult life. I can now go and be on my own and have all these great and wonderful things, and they're not coming around. I'm not putting in the work, I guess, to get what I thought was owed to me. And I think people of my age at some point in their own life come to a point where nothing is owed to you.
Yeah.
But I grew up, oh, so-and-so's dad has a Porsche, or so-and-so's dad has a Corvette. I'm going to have that, and I want it right now. That's owed to me. I had such a horrible upbringing and no, it's not owed to you. But I used, that alcohol to kind of just take down that personal inner demon, if you will, to say you're not a failure. Don't listen to that inner voice. Don't do this. Just take this. Just do that. And then moving to Virginia, and then getting into a work environment where it was the cultural norm to go out for drinks after work on a Friday,
Oh yeah.
to build camaraderie, to do that. And I can tell numerous times where I've had to been picked up from places, or someone come pick me up, or going into work still drunk, not hungover, still drunk. And that lifestyle just kept going. So then I thought I was building this new tribe of people that I could lean on, because we're all around, we're all having fun, we're all joking, we're seeing each other all at work, we're doing this. And, the one person I could count on, who's been there since the beginning is at home, wondering, well, when's James going to come home? What's going on? And this is, cell phones are just coming out, really clunky. You really only use for calls. And then, I took the opportunity to take a promotion with work and relocate to North Carolina. And then boom, again, tribe gone, everyone gone. Couple hours away to Virginia. Yeah, they're at the corporate HQ. They could come down and see the plant and we could hang out. But having that day-to-day massive social interaction with a large group of people was gone. And then again, that's when I really, really struggled with alcohol. And I mean, I was up to a fifth of whiskey a night, 7 days a week. 7 days a week. So a functional alcoholic. So life's going along, boom, 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 boom. And then in 2008, we all know, if you're a working adult at that time, the financial crisis hit.
Oh yeah.
An organization I was with at the time, they were like, everybody off the top, 10, 20%, your salary is gone. We'll reevaluate when and if, we can.
Yeah.
So that I think was my catalyst. That was where I can recall coming home, pouring myself a glass, looking at the glass, and that was my crossroad.
Yeah.
I said, I have one of two options. I'm either one, going to end up killing myself in some form or fashion by sticking to this path I'm on today, or I can make the choice right here, right now, to do better.
Yeah.
To not be perfect, but to do better.
That's all we can do.
Exactly. And that is when the pivot happened. The first pivot happened to be able to get onto something better. And I want to say I went cold turkey. Cold turkey.
Yeah.
But then over the course of time, still a social drinker. So I wouldn't say I went sober, but I was better, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I went from 2008 and I started working out. I started eating better. And that is when my first true weight loss journey began. And what I did, I started with the little 100 calorie pack snacks.
Oh yeah, those help out
And
a
I
lot
switched,
for
and yes,
measuring and all that.
and I switched to diet soda.
Yeah.
And then I would walk around the parking lot at lunch. So I would do these small little changes. And then I want to say from 2008, I know July, because this was my first major milestone, July 24th, 2010, I was 170 pounds.
Wow.
So through diet, through exercise, and I actually joined a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu team during that time.
Oh, nice.
Started to train, I was in another group. That's what I was chasing. I was chasing camaraderie.
Yeah.
Right? So I was in this culture, this tribe, and they were like, "Hey, why don't you come to this little competition or whatever that's going to go on?" I'm like, "Cool, great." But for me, I was like, "Well, what weight class should I be in? And they were like, "Well, where are you at?" And for me, I was like, "I'm going to hit this weight. This is the weight I want to be at." And they were like, "Okay, you can do it." So I, followed the UFC and college wrestling and weight cutting and weight manipulation and doing all these things. So I come in, it's that Saturday, I stand on the scale, and I'm 170 pounds. I am like floored, right?
Yeah.
Floored. I am beyond, belief. Like, I can't believe, like, I've almost lost 200 pounds.
It's insane.
I did not fare well in that competition, but that's okay. That happens in jiu-jitsu. You lose or you learn.
Yep.
But for me, it wasn't about the competition. It wasn't about succeeding or doing well within the competition. Would I have liked to have done well? Absolutely. But for me, I accomplished something on my own without anyone.
That's huge.
I had to do it. I had to make that choice on my own. Quit blaming other people. Quit making excuses to lose the weight. And that was my moment that I had achieved something on my own.
Which is a big moment. I mean, once you realize that it's on you and there ain't nobody else that's going to come and, take care of that for you, it'll open up your eyes. And it's not perfect. It's not immediate. But it really starts to change your perspective, and you're like, all right, I gotta get to work. I gotta make this happen. And nobody else is going to do this for me but me.
Right. Absolutely. And then I know after that, I kind of switched in jobs, and the jiu-jitsu club, if you will, or team or whatever, was not on my normal way home. So now I would have to go out of the way to make it to jiu-jitsu and then travel back home, where previously it was a place I could just drive by.
Right.
So I was like, okay, this isn't really convenient for me. What's more convenient? So I was like, well, I didn't do well. Let me go and join a gym and gain more muscle. So I went, joined a gym, was going every morning before work, 5-6 days a week, working out, and then every once in a while going to the jiu-jitsu club, and then working out, going to jiu-jitsu club. And, still drinking during this time, still living in my own world, thinking I'm the king of kings, that I just hit my 170 pound goal. But in reality, I was portraying something to everyone else, but on the inside, things were falling apart. And from 2010 when I weighed in to 2012, it was the James show.
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
James wanted, whatever James did, it didn't matter. What anybody else wanted or they wanted, it didn't matter. It was what James wanted. If James wanted to go out to the bar that night, James going out to the bar. If James wants to go play golf on Saturday or Sunday and we had to go to whatever other event, it didn't matter. Oh, the kids have got this or whatever, it didn't matter. I was so self-absorbed that to everyone else outside of my four walls of my home, I was living, this grandiose life. Oh, James is great. Oh, anytime you call James to go out, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. But, the people that mattered most to me, inside the four walls of my house, I was distancing myself so far away from them, they couldn't even recognize me anymore. It had nothing to do with the weight loss. I was truly becoming a different person.
Right.
And then, another pivot moment, it was 2012. It became one of those conversations, that no one wants to have. It was pretty much like a, either it's a shit or get off the pot type of moment. Right.
100%.
And it's like, boom, that was another pivot moment. You're looking and you're like, either I'm going to kill myself because I'm going to go on out doing all these stupid things because I'm the king of the world, or I'm going to pivot and I'm going to look at my family and I'm going to do what's right for them. And I'm going to be here for them. I'm going to be the man, the father, the husband they need, me to be. And I'm going to be ever present for them. So over the course of time, again, boom, tribe, people I thought cared about me and loved me, gone. And I made the pivot inside, an inward reflection. But, still, dependent, if you would, on alcohol, because there was still something there internally, regardless of the weight loss, regardless of, being the king of my own little world for so long, pivoting and looking back to the inside, it was still there. So, still going out, still drinking, still being social, but just focusing on, if other priorities were there, my priorities were in the right place.
Yeah.
So then I end up moving to Houston, where I know no one.
Right.
I know no one. And I was here by myself. No family had relocated yet or anything for about, 90 days, we'll say, maybe 6 months. So what am I doing during that time? I'm eating out. I'm not taking care of myself.
Yeah.
I know no one. So what do? I turn to my old dependable friend, the one I can always count on, the one that is always there for me, the one that will not judge me because of my weight, the one that will not judge me because of my insecurities, the one that will not judge me because I don't want to go out and be social with a bunch of people I don't know. But I'll sit at the bar and drink by myself. That's not a problem. But I won't socialize with anyone. So family ended up relocating down here. And then in January 2017, my wonderful neighbors in my wonderful neighborhood, they came up and they did, hey, we're going to do a Biggest Loser. It's a tradition in the neighborhood. You guys are new. We'd love it. If you guys want to join, don't feel obligated. Just do it. And I was like, cool, and I was like, we talk about it. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get on the scale. I'm going to do it. It's 250 pounds.
Yeah.
So over the course of time, gained weight, 80 pounds back. So then I look at myself and I'm like, something's wrong. Something's got to give. But I don't know if this is the right way or rhyme or reason, but I'm going to win this competition. I am going to do whatever it takes to win this competition.
Yeah.
So over the course of, it was a 90-day challenge. I lost 50 pounds in 90 days.
Wow.
So I weighed in 200 pounds on the mark. And that was late spring, early summer, I guess, in 2017. So still, not on a full-fledged diet. I mean, I would not recommend that significant amount of weight loss in that short a time of period for anyone.
Definitely not.
and unless you were under supervision of a doctor, which I was not. But so I did end up winning that competition. And I was like, well, my wife's doctor at the time, probably about 5 years previously, had recommended her trying to get on a ketogenic diet.
Right.
Actually referred to it as that. And I was like, well, let's try it. Let me try to get on the keto bandwagon. So in summer 2017, I start what I would call the stereotypical low carb. So everything I'm used to eating, I'm finding a way to deal with it in a low carb kind of way. So
Right.
I'm making the cookies, I'm making the chocolates, I'm making the cheesecakes, I'm making everything um, that could, flavor my appetite. So um, I didn't really get the quote unquote cognitive benefits that I have now, that I see now.
Mhm.
But I was losing the weight. So in November of 2017 came. No, excuse me, November 2018 came. I got rid of all dairy because ketogenic sweets full of dairy most of the time.
Yeah.
And I also decided, hey, I'm going to get rid of all nuts. Nuts are usually another go-to within the ketogenic world, especially in the sweetness area. If you look at anything prepackaged, generally it's almond flour.
Mhm.
So for an entire month, I decided I'm going no nuts, no dairy.
Brave man.
and I the awareness I was able to have in just the brain and everything firing on all cylinders. I can remember I made that decision in October. I was going to go no nuts, no dairy. Well, I also said I'm going to go no alcohol. I'm going to go no alcohol in November. And I can tell you my last drink of alcohol to date is October 31st, 2018.
Oh man, I love it. I gave up alcohol myself a little bit long after you did. It was December 31st. New Year's Eve was my last drink of alcohol. I never had what I would consider to be a like a big problem with it, but I guess somebody on the outside, they could say, well, God damn, that's a lot of alcohol you're taking in, whether it's just drinking a lot of beers or drinking a lot of just hard liquor. Because generally I would just probably laugh myself to sleep a lot. just that would be kind of what I do. I drink at home a lot and watch TV and pass out. It's pretty much was my deal. And then after a while, it's like, I wonder if it's possible for me to just give it up. So New Year's Eve came and I said, I'm going to give up 3 things. I'm going to give up alcohol, chocolate, and pizza. And I'm so far, I can tell you that I've not had any of those 3 things since New Year's Eve.
Well, congratulations. I know how difficult those are.
Definitely. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I was like, I don't know. These are things that I like to have. And so far, so good. I think when you just tell yourself, hey, you need to back off that stuff. And if you really put your mind to it, you can get off the stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think through all of the journey thus far for myself, it's been those pivotal moments that it's either A or B.
Yeah.
And making that hard choice and then doing whatever it takes to see it through. I want to say more so than the keto life, which it is what it is, but for me personally, it's making my mind up, making the hard choice, whether it's the right choice or the wrong choice to everyone else, but making the choice for myself and seeing it through.
Yes.
I, like yourself, I see you running. I do not enjoy running.
Neither do I.
But I can tell you that I was let's see the best way to put it. I saw someone doing a run who was a runner that in my head I thought, well, why wasn't I invited?
Right.
Why didn't that person invite me? Are we not cool? Are we not bros? Well, that's just, I mean, to sidebar a little bit. I mean, that was that is my biggest challenge today, right? Is the fear of missing out. And I'm getting through the course of the year, through November to now, a lot better. I'm making that commitment to myself to not worry so much about what other people are doing or why they're doing it. If they want to invite me to something or collaborate with me on something, great. If they don't, they have a choice as to why not.
Right.
I can't control that. But I seeing this individual run this race, I was like, well, I'm going to show him. I'm going to show him. So I just started running, walking, running every day, almost every day since then. I signed up for a 5K series here in Houston, which is 5Ks over the course of the calendar year.
Oh my God.
And you get a medal for each one, of course. And then if you complete all 5, you get a special bracket that they all hang into, right?
Right.
So, January 1, first 5K. So that meant obviously no alcohol. Obviously have to be up super early. You know how it is to get there, check in, ran the 5K. And the great thing about it is, my wife's doing it with me. She's doing these 5Ks with me. So now I have a partner. I have someone that wants to be with me and do these things. But, when it first originally started, it was about not her, not me, not doing something active. It was about the fear of missing out.
Oh yeah.
And then wanting to one up that individual and be like, oh, you don't want me with you? I'm going to do better than you. And that's what originally started my drive. I just posted on my Instagram feed that, I ran a week ago this past Saturday. So not this past Saturday, but a week before that. I ran a half marathon in the neighborhood for fun. And I did it in 2.5 hours, less than 2.5 hours.
Try telling that to your old self, by the way. Hey, buddy, you're going to go out and run for fun. Or my favorite is like when I did the 10K in Cincinnati, it's like, try telling that old Gary, hey man, you're not only going to go run for fun, but you're going to pay for the privilege.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah. You're paying for the privilege to do it and to prove to yourself. And I think that's what for especially, for people who come from a heavier background, if you will.
Right.
I think that's a motivator, especially, I'm not going to pay for something and then not show up. I'm going to at least show up, and then you're getting active. You're getting in the outdoors, and then you're getting around like-minded people, and then you're meeting like-minded people. And then you're talking to like-minded people, and then you're hearing about their journeys and their struggles, and then you're able to openly talk to other people about your own journey and your own struggle. And I'm still running. I mean, that's where I know we were going back and forth before this about running. I've got my 5 miles I got to get in today. I mean, every day.
Right.
There's this challenge, if you will, going around that I'm about to complete. I've started it once before and I failed. I didn't do the requirements on the checklist. I could have easily done it. I could have stayed up later. I could have knocked everything off the checklist, but I didn't do it. But I owned it. I may have failed, but I didn't quit.
That's right.
I just started back over. Humility, start back over. Day one. Doing it, and I'm getting in, and when I go back and I complete, this challenge and being able, since, you're supposed to post everything, and a lot of the things I post are mainly in my stories, but being able to go back and look at my, my fitness app or whatever that tracks all my runs, being able to look from day one when I started this to when I complete it. I mean, I know, one of my goals was, I want to do a 10K in less than an hour.
Yeah.
That was a goal. Well, Saturday, I ran a 10K in the neighborhood, 58 minutes.
Damn. That's impressive.
I know I chat with Mike and Gormy quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
I still don't enjoy running. Right?
Who the hell does?
But that's why I want to do it. I want to embrace the challenge.
Yeah.
I want my mind to not run away from something that I know is going to suck, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I ran the half marathon. I didn't run it for a medal. I didn't run it for a t-shirt. I didn't run it for anything, for any other reason than I just wanted to. I wanted to go further than I had ever gone before.
That's incredible.
I made that commitment to myself, and I think it just goes back to making that decision and sticking with it, and then seeing it through at all costs. And then, I saw the half marathon. Then the very next day I was out running.
You're up and going.
And then this past Saturday, I hit another goal that I wanted, a 10K in less than an hour. So I go from running a half marathon one Saturday to a 10K under an hour the next Saturday. And it all started from what? It started up from an ego. Ego because I wasn't included. Today I can sit and who cares, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, I wasn't committed. But I still, I have people I've never met on my Instagram. I have people I know I will meet, especially at, KetoCon, which is a big thing, but that's going to be our party, right? We're all going to hang out. And I have people that are true and dear friends and family that I follow. They post things. Everyone posts things, especially, people I've met here in town, family and friends here in town. I'm not included, but yet still personally things inside me are saying, well, why wasn't I? What is not good enough about James?
Right.
Where's James failing? Or what has James done that to not be included in the group, in the clique? And that's where now running helps me just forget it all. And that's why I want to do it every day, because for that hour I'm out there, being able to just focus on myself, whatever I'm listening to at the time, and no one else. It's just me, my pace, my breathing, and the sounds in my ears. I can reset my base. And, you will probably know this, though. Once you were an addict, you are an addict, and you shift your addiction from something that could potentially kill you or will kill you into something that will save you. And that's what running has done for me. And now it's become my addiction and my fuel that, I don't know where I'd be today had I not started the running journey to be able to focus for that time about nothing else but me, and breathe and reflect on the day, what has happened, what went well, what do I need to do better on, and what's coming tomorrow. What do I need to focus on? What do I need to put my strength and energy into to get through tomorrow? And it just gives me that time to reflect without any other distraction, without any Instagram, without any other news feed or Facebook or anything. It's just me, my footsteps, my breathing, and whatever I'm listening to.
I don't think I've ever quite heard it put that way, where it's like, hey, we have an addiction, we're addicted to this, and we turn it into something that could kill us, into something that makes us healthy. I mean, that's some pretty powerful, strong words right there. And I never thought about it that way. That's incredible.
And I truly think, I think anybody who's been severely addicted to something, drugs or alcohol in particular, it is so easy to lapse back.
Yes.
But if you have those tendencies to have an addictive personality, and, I think for me, some of that fear of missing out is because I'm addicted to these people. These are my family. These are my friends. I'm addicted to them. I want to be around them. I want to have their social interaction. And not getting that is kind of like, boo-hoo James, right? It's like boo-hoo James. So, and then focusing that type of energy of, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to lose 5 pounds. And I'm going to be addicted to that.
Right.
I'm, whatever it takes at all costs, because, I can tell you back in the pre-2008, if I needed a drink or wanted a drink and I didn't have one, I would do whatever it took to get one.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So finding that same energy and drive now to say, oh, here's another goal. Whatever it takes, I'm going to get it. Oh, here's a new this. Whatever it takes, I'm going to get it. Just shifting the focus from, because it's there. That addictive trait is in me. It's there. There's nothing I can do, I do not think, to fully rid it. So now it's shifting it into something that I can drive change in myself and in others, and just sharing my message to be able to show you can change. You just have to focus and pivot and drive and do whatever it takes to meet that goal. Just like you would if you needed that drink and it wasn't around, you would do anything for it.
Oh, 100%.
Look at your goal that same way.
Well, I'll tell you what, comes to running and all that, you should really join us next year in Cincinnati, man. Flying Pig, come on down, or come on up, rather.
Yeah, I saw that. I might have to send me the details.
Yeah, I could send you our Facebook event link invite, and you just mark either like interested, and you'll still get all the updates and all that stuff. But yeah, a bunch of us from the Graham meeting up and hanging out. We had a great time this year, and looking forward to doing it again next year for sure.
Awesome. Sounds fun. And I've never been to Cincinnati, so.
Well, it's really cool. A lot of supportive people there, man. People, complete strangers. They line up at just about every street corner of this race, and they're rooting you on. People you never met. They don't know who you are. You don't know who they are, and they're just rooting you on the whole way through. That city really gets behind the race. It's incredible.
Awesome.
Speaking of the Graham, that's where most of the listeners of this show come from. Where can people find you on the Graham if they want to check out what you got?
It's just my name, James Aaron Simpson.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I would recommend you guys check it out. I'm looking at your page right now. Actually realized that I was not following, so now I am following, and I'm seeing all this food porn. You have all this lovely, lovely meat on your page. I love it.
I am in the middle of my own 90-day, I don't want to call it weight loss, because, right. But I'm calling it a transformation. So I am taking a family vacation to Florida. So I've decided, hey, why not try to get into the most aesthetically pleasing shape I can be in. But, after 200 plus pound weight loss, you're not going to be on the cover of GQ. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
for me, getting to the best I feel I can get, with what I've done to myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, you've done a hell of a job. I mean, and quitting drinking is not easy. I can definitely vouch for that. And the amount of weight you lost is incredible. Probably not nearly as incredible as the life that you've gained from it, the experience you've got from it, and where you're going. I think you're really on the right path, man.
I appreciate it, brother.
Well, I want to thank you for your time. Enjoy your workout, and we'll definitely have to do an update show at some point in the future, man. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, it sounds good, Gary. Thank you.
Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, what is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing this show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers, but act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've got a whole lot more to offer, and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show, and I'll talk to you again really soon. hardworkalwayswins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code PODCAST at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the Hard Work Squad today.